In this episode of Shipwrecked, we are joined by a few of our favorite artists and collectors in the space, Patrick Amadon, Silva, and Guy Norcal. We dive into their thoughts on one-on-ones, open editions, and small collections, JN's photography and Animus origin story, Patrick's thoughts on taking criticism as an artist and getting work removed from the Hong Kong Billboard, Guy's passion project, Click Create, and so much more. As always, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Redbeard D's and guests may own NFTs discussed. GM, we're here today with another episode of Shipwrecked. We have a pretty legendary panel. We're joined by J.N. Silva, Norcal Guy, and Patrick Amadon. We're going to probably just dive into a bunch of weird shit. We don't really have any agenda. Perfect. We just kind of go off the top. It's been a rainy doozy.
It's just been so rainy, and like the weather's.
The house is flooding. There's been leaks in the ceiling.
We don't know what's going on.
The pool hasn't turned on.
But we just keep going.
Yeah, we just keep going.
So let's just jump into it. Open editions.
All right, open editions. What do you think about them?
Burn them. Fuck, marry, kill. Open edition. 1-to-1. Small collection of 100. Jan, let's just start off right now. Yeah, that one's a little longer. Fuck, marry, kill. Open edition.
That's not fair. Well, marry one of ones.
You'll marry one of one. Okay.
Man, I guess I gotta fuck. No, I can't. Fuck small collections and what's on?
Wait, you're gonna marry 1-to-1.
Marry 1-to-1.
You're gonna fuck a small collection.
Yeah, and
you're
kill open edition.
Kill open edition.
Yeah.
Patrick.
Ooh, I gotta go. You want to marry the 25, the small collection.
Okay.
That will sustain you for a long time.
Okay.
All right.
Sometimes a marriage does that. It depends.
Fuck the one-on-ones,
right?
Because those are sexy.
Okay.
And then kill the open edition.
Kill
Easy.
open editions.
Yeah. They should die.
Now this is gonna be a tough one, Norcal. I don't know how you're gonna answer this one.
No. Well, I mean, if that's the only responses we have, I mean, it has to be like you gotta like marry the 1-on-1.
Marry the 1-of-1.
Yeah. Fuck the editions and.
No, you're gonna have sex with the editions.
Okay. Yeah.
And you're gonna kill the small collections.
No. Kill the OE for me. Like, if that's my options, but, you know, I love OEs. Or they're not technically OEs, though.
No.
They're timed editions.
They're timed editions. Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. That's a good question. While we're on it, we're talking about editions, and editions have been like a hot topic. So I guess we'll start with you, Guy, because you just created an amazing editions platform with Clutch, which is really awesome.
Thanks.
So you can tell us a little about it, but like what the difference is between timed and open.
Yeah. So an open edition never closes.
It just never closes.
Yeah. I mean, that's what most of
those editions during open edition seasons were really
timed editions. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now we have open.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
No, sorry. Yours are timed.
Yeah. I mean, they're set.
They're set
editions. Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
As an artist, how do you approach an open edition?
Yeah.
If you have to drop one.
If you have to drop an open edition.
I haven't dropped one in a while. I feel like I was in that first wave of the Nifty Gateway open edition, mania.
Right, you did
Mine
have
was in
an
December,
open edition.
yeah.
Right.
Well, it was a 5-minute one with NQX.
Right.
We did a 5-minute open edition, and it was, very affordably priced.
And how many sold in the end?
I believe it was 105.
See, it's a nice
5
edition
minutes.
Account.
So it was nice. Yeah, it's a nice number, and I think that for me is kind of like the way I approach it. Is still just make it very exclusive. Still, have it for the people that are really paying attention and want to be there.
Right.
But I think with anything, it's just having the right intention and telling the right story of why you're releasing this. I think it's great for getting more collectors and particularly artists that have had super high metrics and high sales. I'm all for getting my art in the hands of people at a more affordable price.
Let's get your art in the hands of everybody.
That's my goal.
Let's do mass adoption.
Yeah. So
why should not everybody have J.N. Silva art?
I think he makes a really good point, though. He says, like, as long as it fits the narrative, like, it's got to be a narrative, because I think you just see so many things that just come across like purely extractive. You're like, you just see somebody sees a moment, like, there's no real reason for it to be an OE other than like, yeah, I can make a lot of money right now.
Right.
And I feel like that stuff just doesn't particularly age well.
No.
Like if there's a real reason for it, cool. But I think people dialing in on a narrative around it, I think makes all the difference in the world.
It depends on what kind of artist. So let's talk about something not so controversial. Sorry, just start off with that. Patrick, what do you think about SuperRare?
Not controversial.
Not controversial. Yeah.
Not at all.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Unless you know what? No, you can answer that.
Why are we shying away?
Yeah,
like
let's
I,
not
I
shy
feel like
away.
we shouldn't
Let's
like
do it.
ramp into this.
Yeah.
Let's just like jump straight
But
off the cliff.
we were sponsored by SuperRare.
Yeah.
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 That's our sponsor for the podcast.
I have nothing but respect for SuperRare's role in the space. Like I think they like played like a really critical part in the whole ecosystem and making art work, especially like kind of 2018, 2019, 2020. I think they got into trouble though when they tried to expand into their founder's vision of turning into the next OpenSea, which is so unbelievably disconnected from an elite
Especially
art
when
platform.
OpenSea is faltering itself.
Right. I mean,
So,
like
it really doesn't make any sense.
that looks like a great business model. Let's do that.
Let's do that. Right?
And I think they kind of muddled everything. Like when they launched Spaces, and Spaces wasn't really separated from Curated. Then all of a sudden you had SuperRare as this elite art platform, but nobody could tell, like, wait, is this a Spaces contract or is this actual Curated SuperRare? You go on the platform, there's no discoverability to begin with. So it just really like muddied the water. And all of a sudden everybody was on SuperRare.
Do you think it's the same thing like it is now with everybody going to Sotheby's?
That's an interesting question. No, I mean, I think, Sotheby's is Sotheby's for a reason. And I think for a lot of artists, it's like a notch in their belt, and it's
Right.
Something that, kind of bridges and validates what they've been doing in this space, kind of with more in the traditional art sense.
Right.
Right.
I mean, Sotheby's is still Sotheby's. Just the question is,
Yeah.
are we taking on... I think there's also levels of types of auction at Sotheby's
Of
that
course.
people don't fully understand, right? So like the
Very
ones that
much
they're
so.
on now, are an auction, definitely by Sotheby's, but it's not the hammer auction at night with 20 pieces, right? There's like, it's like the minor leagues of that, which is still amazing and still makes sense, because if you think about how the art industry has not been disrupted at all, and there's billions of dollars every year in low and medium sized galleries, for a larger gallery to take some of that business would be key.
Yeah.
So that's why I think this makes a lot of sense.
Well, and I think, if we can introduce more traditional collectors to what we're doing
sure.
here, that's a net positive for the space. I just hope that Sotheby's gives all these artists the support they deserve, when they do these auctions, because this past one was a fairly large one, and I personally didn't see that much of a push from Sotheby's. So I hope maybe on the back end they're reaching out to collectors and telling them why these artists are part of the collection, why they're important. And I think if they're doing that, then that's amazing. But I hope they're not using the artists to just create hype. Or
I hope not. Also,
I agree with you completely.
Yeah,
like purely extractive, right? I think that's the big concern. My biggest concern initially, because I was really against auction houses at the beginning, because I felt like they were coming in and trying to establish themselves almost as the new gatekeeper for who was good, or perhaps they'd come in and we'd all then establish them as the gatekeeper for us, saying, okay, wait, who did Sotheby's pick? Who's a good artist? Like they take over that role from SuperRare, and I don't think that's healthy for the space. And I love the fact that SuperRare has fallen off, because now it's on us to pick who the winners are, right? Like you can mint on Manifold, AOTM, SuperRare, like whatever, doesn't matter.
Yep.
It's who you are in the community and the role your art plays now.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be important. So let's now talk about nothing that has to do with NFTs. Let's talk about your beard.
Yes.
I mean,
we can go for days.
Now
about beards here.
you have a lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a great beard. Also,
It is
I'm just saying
amazing
they
beard.
can't see it because maybe under the PFP they'll see a little bit. But Guy Norcal has a great beard.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful beard. You have been a photographer for a very long time,
Yes.
and you have an amazing partner, right?
Yes.
Are you married?
I am married indeed.
And how long you been married for?
It's about to be 3 years.
And I
wait,
see
4
when I
years?
see you guys, I feel like she travels with you. She's with you a lot. She supports you a lot. I mean, that must mean a big thing. For
She's incredible. She is, a large reason of why I'm where I'm at. She's been an incredible support system. She, we complement each other so well.
So can you tell us about how you guys got married in Vegas?
I thought we were talking about beards. No, okay, let's do it. Yeah, it was it was a really cool story. So, we had been dating for about 9 or 10 years at the time. It took me, I moved to the United States in 1996. I didn't get my citizenship until 2019.
From Russia, right? You're Russian?
I'm Venezuelan.
Oh, sorry. Close. Yeah.
I have some odd ties to Russia. My grandfather, who I'm named after, that's why everyone asks me why Jay and Silva. Yeah. And my grandfather was an author, and he would sign all his books Jay and Silva.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So
do you have any of his books? Or
I do have some of his poetry books. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he was a G. Anyhow, he actually got his PhD in philosophy and language arts in Russia during the Cold War.
Wow.
Crazy. And I did not know this until, fairly recently. And I majored in philosophy and language arts just on my own without knowing.
And you never knew this about your grandfather?
I didn't know that until after I did it.
Were you named after your grandfather?
Yeah.
So you never met him?
No, it was his dying wish. My mom had some other crazy name for me, and as he was passing away, he was like, "I want my grandson to be named after him."
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
my brother's name is David, but they thought he was a girl at first, so they made all the children's chests and stuff and his clothing and whatever in the room, and his name was Sparkles.
Sparkles.
Mm-hmm.
And then when did they change it?
When they found that it was a boy, and then it became David.
Wait, no, he's David now.
My parents smoked a lot of pot in the 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, so go back to your roots, because I know that you've been a photographer for a long time. You come from this amazing sort of group of photographers that I know specifically Guy and I and Deez have bought a ton from. Monaris and Dave and Ovek. And this has been a tight group, and Germ and all these amazing photographers that were on Instagram. And I know that you basically were one of the OGs there, and then you guys came here. So just and we've heard kind of Dave talk about it, but he's mentioned how you were the first person to kind of bring everybody in as an ambassador.
Yeah, for sure. So, I've been doing photography for 20 years now. I started in 2003. And I started because when we moved from Venezuela, we came with nothing. So I lost all of the photos of me as a child.
Wow.
And then my mom remarried here, had a little sister and brother. And I was like, I'm going to document the shit out of their lives. I'm going to make sure that they have every photo. And that's my first 10,000 photos are just my brother and my sister. And this was around high school. Then I was always really shy. So in college, the camera just became kind of my way of not being awkward. Because if I'm at a party or somewhere, I'm like, if I have a camera, I know what I'm going to do, right? And I don't have to talk to anyone. I could just be, and, I never liked being in photos back then. And then after college, because I majored in philosophy and language arts, I couldn't find a job, of course. It was right after the recession. So I was like, well, I know how to do photography. And I was doing anything I could. I put up flyers in my university to do headshots for the dancers and the actors. And then back home, I was doing maternity shoots, weddings, engagements, you name it, whatever. If you wanted to pay me to take a photo, I was doing it.
Wow.
And then I got really tired of just photography became work, and I was doing just work that I wasn't enjoying. And that coincided with Instagram coming out, and I was like, oh, there's this interesting app. And you couldn't at the
before
time,
a lot of followers and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it was very early, 2012, 2013. And at the time, for the first 3 or 4 years, I want to say 3 years of Instagram, you couldn't upload DSLR photos or any other photo. It had to be your phone. So I was like, okay, this is fun. I'll get my phone and I'll go walk around. So
at the beginning, you couldn't. They wanted you to take a picture from your phone.
It was only it wasn't even the technology wasn't there for you to upload anything. Yeah, and I remember I was browsing this app, and I found this photographer, Jason M. Peterson, and his thing said 100% iPhone, and I saw his photos, and I was like I could not believe it that he was shooting all of that on the phone. And I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to shoot on this damn phone. And all those years I started just walking I would walk New York every day, just sunrise to sunset, taking photos on my phone. And it really made me a much better photographer, because you're forced to really focus on composition. You're limited, by the specs of the cameras, iPhone 4, iPhone 5, I don't know,
right. So
very early. And you kind of have to really be in the moment, zoom with your feet. So it really taught me a lot. And I remember, I would be browsing, Instagram would have a lot of features, and they would feature different people. And they featured one day something called an Insta Meet. And I was like, an Insta Meet, what's that? And I started going through the hashtag, and I saw that people were meeting up and taking photos together. And I was like,
It's a photo walk.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I've never, photography has been like a very solitary thing for me. I've always been just me.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I'd love to check one of these out. And there was an Instagram account called Instagram NYC, and I saw that they were hosting one. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. And I brought a buddy with me, just for moral support. And
was it Phil?
No. Phil had not gotten into photography at the point.
By the way, he's a phenomenal artist.
He's when
insane. Is he dropping something?
Soon, very soon, actually. Yeah, I'm excited. Phil, man.
Sorry, it's off
so much talent, so many skills.
So is that how you met, like, Dave?
So I went to this Insta-meet and I met kind of like a few pivotal people in the New York City community back then, and literally a few weeks later, Instagram was doing what they called Worldwide Insta-meet Weekend. And this is where they like encourage people to host a meetup and hang out. And I was like, okay, I went to my first one. I was like, all right, who's doing the meetup for New York? And I hit up the people at Instagram NYC. They're like, no, we're out of town. And I started just like looking for people, and no one was hosting a meetup. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, New York City's not having like a meetup? And the guys at Instagram NYC, they were like, hey, we'll give you access to our account. They had like 12,000 followers at the time, which was massive. They're like, we'll link you with this guy, Jacob Santiago, incredible New York City photographer, who at the time had like 19,000 followers, which was like, this guy's famous. And maybe you guys can host something, and, we can help you promote it.
Right.
And I was like super nervous. I'm like, okay, sure. And we planned this meetup. And actually, April 6th is the 10-year anniversary of this meetup, which is kind of wild.
You might have to.
I'm trying to fly. Yeah,
dude, that would be amazing.
I'm talking to a few people to see if they sponsor me hosting the 10-year reunion, because at that meetup I met like Illich Peters.
Wow.
I met this guy Kevin Ornelas, Omar Robles. Wow. I met him that day there, and I met just like an amazing group of photographers from New York, and we actually ended up, the photo that I took and posted ended up getting featured by Instagram on the Monday, but the funny thing is they featured it from the Instagram NYC account, not my account. So they gained a ton of followers, right?
And they didn't even show up.
And but it worked out because, I very much like always say that was like a pivotal point in just my life and career, because from there on, I was connected to these people, and then I became the Insta-meet guy. Yeah. They're like, okay, when's the next one? And I was like, no, that was like a one-time thing.
Those street walks, those street meetups, I went on like a few.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
So,
and I'm not even a photographer. Like you would probably love them.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I need to do some.
So
Guy is a great photographer. Also.
I'm sure.
Yeah. No, he really is. He's not going to admit it, but he's also an amazing artist.
So from there, Illich, we kind of consider him like the godfather of everyone. Illich Peters, and he's in Web3 too. He has a lot of really amazing
I own Genesis, just in case anybody wants.
Amazing. There you go, flex. But he introduced me to Dave, to Steve Sweatpants, to Sean, who's part of Animus.
Yeah.
Illich introduced me to like all of my core friends, and particularly Dave and I like really got along. Yeah. And we were just like, let's keep doing this. Let's keep hosting these meetups. And at the time, it was growing really fast. Like, we would say, hey, let's meet, at in Queens, 6 a.m. on a Saturday. And we would get 400 people at 6 a.m. on a Saturday, just mobbing out.
I heard like the two of you were like a dynamic duo. And it was like anytime you're like, oh, something cool's happening, like the moon is going to be here. There might be a story. You're like, let's meet this. And then people would just
And it was really special, because then people would fly in to visit New York, and they would hit us up and be like, hey, can you guys host something for us? So we would show photographers from all over the world. And when I started traveling, literally anywhere I went, everyone would say, you guys in New York have the best community. Like, there's nothing like that
and
anywhere.
I think that spilled over to what a lot of
that's
the
crew
now.
And that's so when I got into Web3, I was pretty early to the whole thing in crypto, and when I saw it happening, I was like, I gotta put the crew on. So I called my friend. I'm like, if I get Dave in, he'll get 100 people in. If I bring Illich in, he'll bring 100 people in. If I get Ravi in, he'll bring 100 people in. And I just like started all of my 2020 was just FaceTiming people. And they all thought I was insane. They're like, dude, are you okay? Do you have COVID right now? I'm like, no, dude, you gotta open up a MetaMask and you gotta apply. And they're like, the world is like about to end. We're like in the apocalypse. And what are you talking about?
Did you were in New York during COVID?
Yeah, New Jersey.
Did you take some like epic pictures of just like empty streets and stuff?
No,
like
I unfortunately did not. So my wife's mother got a kidney transplant in February of 2020. And she's very immunocompromised. And the doctor was like, if she even catches a cold.
So you guys were like really in a
so
bubble.
My wife was like, you cannot risk it, But I did go out for the Black Lives Matter protest. I was like, I couldn't.
Yeah,
I was
I
like
saw
the
some
one.
of those pictures you took.
So I went to all of those, and I have some really, really amazing photos from there. But I did take photos in like New Jersey, and just like I would go on walks and bring my camera, but I didn't go to New York that much.
Deez takes pictures. We try to see who takes better pictures, and he beats me every time. And then he posts about it to flex.
That's a fun thing we do on
account?
Twitter. That's a new game.
It's okay.
Sometimes I'll just see Benny taking a picture in public, and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to take a better one.
I don't take. Yeah, I take the worst pictures. I'm just going to be honest.
Benny just is like, and it's like looking up here, shooting down here, hits it, and it's like, oh, it's beautiful. It's done.
Sure.
Listen, it's about the thought, though. I give you the right I'm giving you the right spot to take. I just don't do the right angles. That's what it is.
Yeah, your vibrational detector.
Sure. So Patrick, did you do photography or?
What?
Yeah, I do a little photography. Yeah. I wouldn't call myself a photographer, but I definitely walk around downtown a lot and wherever I go, and bring a camera.
I would be interested to see what a Patrick picture would look like.
I love shooting. I don't like shooting street art. I feel like that's somebody else's art.
Right.
But I really love shooting like decayed urban landscapes.
I was gonna say something about chaos. Yeah. Something about destruction.
Yeah. So like across the bridge, so downtown LA is pretty gentrified now, right? There's no more artists in the arts district. I feel like there should be like a petition to change the name now.
Wait, how long have you been in LA?
I've been in LA for 15 years now.
Okay, so you've seen a lot of change over the 15 years. How's it changed then over the last 15 years since you got here?
Just mostly gentrification. I mean, like downtown used to just close like 6 o'clock. Like the few finance people that were down there would just leave. The shutters would go down, even the middle of downtown, and that was it, just homeless people. And then now it's like sort of a proper city. I'm not going to go as far to say it is a proper city, but it's getting closer.
Where'd you live before that?
Before that, I went to school in Russia and Illinois, like a little liberal arts school.
Illinois?
Russia and Illinois. Studied abroad also.
Like J.N.'s grandfather.
I studied literature over there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you speak Russian?
I used to. It's amazing how quickly things go if you don't practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had to learn. Did you go to school and learn in Russian, or?
I studied it for a couple of years before I went over there, language and literature, and then when I went over and studied there, just spoke it the whole time I was there.
Okay, so now that we're on the topic, how do you pronounce your last name? Let's just make sure everybody knows this for good.
Appreciate it. Amadon.
Amadon.
Yeah.
And what is that? Is that Greek? Are you from a Greek god? Is that? It sounds very Greek.
Yeah, it's actually French.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was close.
So, yeah.
And your family from France?
Europe. Yeah, half French.
What were you going to say, Deez? I'm sorry, you were about to ask a question.
It's in Europe.
Is in Europe, yeah.
France.
Do you have family in France still?
No.
Okay.
It was ages ago.
All right. And what does Amadon mean?
I have no idea.
No, we got to know this. Now someone has to look this up, man.
Google it at some point. It's just not high on the to-do list.
What's in English from French, right? You said it's French?
Yeah.
Amadon. Yeah. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
This is good. I'm going to have a takeaway here.
No, this is good. You never did you ever do the 23andMe thing?
No.
Did you ever do it? I did. Where was your family mostly from?
So I think I'm equal, like 20, and 20% was Portugal, Spain, and native South America.
Native South America?
Yeah.
Wow. That's like Incas.
Yeah, so it was 20, and then it was just a wild mix.
Dude, if you could take a time, that's a great question. If you could take a time machine to take a picture anywhere in history, you could be there for like an hour. Where what would it be?
The Library of Alexandria, easily.
Like that.
I would just tour the Library of Alexandria and just document all the, that was like thousands of years of innovation and literature and art, of everything that the humans had accomplished up to that point. That's like my single greatest, I feel grief for that. And
I feel like Animus has like a lot of feel that way.
Yes. Okay. Animus, that is like our core values are very much rooted in kind of like classical education. It was, the language, philosophy, mythology, awesome. All of that stuff.
And Patrick, if you could take a time machine to go back to any violent riot
in
history,
you know,
which one would it be?
Well, for the photo one, I'd be fascinated to go see like 1970s New York.
Oh yeah,
like because back then there was a huge graffiti scene. They didn't paint over the subways, so there's just a ton of art everywhere. I think that'd be plus like an amazing art scene at the time too. So like I feel like that would have been something.
Well, we have an update. Amadon comes from a derivative, like everybody's art, from Amat, beloved.
Okay.
So that's that. And also, it turns out most of your family, Amadon family was found in USA, UK, Canada between 1840 and 1920. Are you sure you're from France?
Yeah. It's
okay.
It's
maybe you came like your.
They
family.
came over. They're French Huguenots. They came over in like 1600s.
Dude, that's fucking crazy. Yeah. That's your like family, great grandparents. Yeah. Wow. So your family's been in this country since
both sides, 1600s.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like Guy, you're probably the same way. Where's your family from?
Yeah, they're like German immigrants.
Like they came in the early 1900s.
No, probably 1800s.
1800s. Yeah, I could see that. You look like you could live in the 1800s a little bit with that beard.
So where would you take a photo?
Yeah, I've been curious.
I want everyone to answer that question. That's a really good one.
That's a good question.
Dude, that's a tough one. There's so many interesting points in history. Like, feel like, I don't know, maybe Egyptian times back in Egypt, or if Atlantis was a real thing, Atlantis.
I like that.
That's really good.
D's, I'm actually really curious about this one.
Oh no, there's a couple that come to mind.
Okay, you can
first
dab, yeah.
like
the first peace pipe.
Yeah, I mean the Last Supper comes to mind, but like taking pictures of it, I think would have been cool, or like something around the crucifixion time and the time of Jesus. And then before that, I think like the Great Wall of China would be an interesting thing to see.
Oh.
But can we go back to like dinosaurs? Is that on the table?
Yeah, you can go back as far as you want.
Because like that's another one that comes to mind where like if you could be safe and take pictures of fucking dinosaurs.
That's a good
when,
asterisk.
Like, the world was still Pangea or whatever.
When it was like billions of years ago.
Yeah. I think
maybe taking the picture the first time, like the animal like went on, like started breathing on land.
I want the best like microscopic telescope possible, and I want to go back to like the time the first single-celled organism like somehow turned into the second,
touch each other,
like
and then
the second, and then it became a multicellular organism, and then like crazy shit happened after.
Wow.
Like that would be historical.
Now we're getting deep.
I go back to the moment before the Big Bang.
But now that's interesting because really, right? Isn't that like the only thing scientists say like they can't tell you what happened before it, right? Because like it's impossible to know. So I don't even know what that would look like. Is that even possible? Well, I had to go back in time, take a picture of one thing. It could be anything. I mean, I have to think about that, but like. I always really, I mean, like, it's easy to say like a sports moment, like, for me, I'm a big Met fan, like the 69 Mets, like, was it, when they won the World Series. But like, I think if I had to like pick one true moment, it would probably be like, I would probably go back to the time of like Abraham and the day he said he heard God's voice. Because I want to know if he was full of shit or not. Like I want to be there at that moment to take a picture of that. So like to see like, now it's interesting because if I take a photograph, you won't know, but at least I'll be able to see. So, but it would just like to be able to know if that like, I want a vibe check. I want to be like, yo, what's up, Abraham?
Abraham is crazy.
Like, are you crazy or not? Like, I want to know what's really going on.
I can appreciate you're a real Mets fan because you like thought about multiple moments.
Yes. Yeah. See, there you go. There you go. I mean, there's not that many moments for Met fans, so. But I think it's interesting also, like, the idea of a photograph. I met somebody once who told me that he never takes pictures because he said why would I waste my time taking pictures when I could live the moment? And he said that to me, and I thought about that a lot for a very long time. But in the end, also, you live your moments through the pictures, right? So like it's a balance in some ways, right? Because we're on our phones all the time, and I notice, like, I look at my phone though, because that's what I think about it, and I have like thousands and thousands of pictures. I'm like, maybe I should put my phone down less to take a picture and just enjoy that moment in the second, And I think there's something to that a little bit.
There's for sure. Memory is a very, very fickle bitch, honestly. Because, as you get older, your cells kind of like degenerate, you know? And you don't remember things as well. And even like, when they do the studies for like crime scenes and witnesses and it's all just like totally twisted and so subjective. And so I think that's why I really enjoy photography, because you're kind of like objectively capturing this, I guess, perception of reality. I don't know if that's a whole other metaphysical conversation, whether what's base reality and what's not.
Well, right, but taking the picture,
but the really picture, reality? And I go through this all the time because I'm like a huge music fan, right? And music is like probably my biggest passion, honestly. So I've kind of like been able to mesh that passion with photography, and I love shooting music. And a lot of shows, when it's my favorite artist, I'm like, do I take the photo or do I enjoy the moment of being in this song that I really love?
Right.
Both. And I've done both.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll just like kind of shoot here, but really try to enjoy it, or just like
I notice that sometimes, like you, Monaris, Dave, like a bunch of you, sometimes we'll just be walking and you're not doing this, but it's down here and you're just clicking.
Yeah, I noticed you guys
like a baby.
That. Yeah, I have like a little baby.
And you guys just like are clicking and clicking.
Yeah.
While you're talking to people also. And,
I have my finger here, and photography is just like the art of observation, right? And I'm always just like and that's why I really love it, and that's why I feel like photography makes me live in the moment more, because it forces me to pay attention to everything going on around me. I'm like a huge observer, right? And even now, or whenever I'm at a party event, I'm always just like looking around, checking off, and I'll just like, in my mind, it's almost like I'm always taking pictures because, oh wow, it's a really good smile. There's the motion over there. Like they're having a really good time, or this lighting is hitting in a really interesting way. Oh, look at this composition. And like, that's just me generally. And if I have a camera, I usually just grip it like this, and I'm just like, and it's kind of fun. It's a fun little exercise. I don't do it all the time, but I'll switch off and I'll play games where like, okay, today I'm going to just shoot from the hip and see what comes out. Some days I'm going to like really get in people's faces.
I'm going to ask you a tough question.
Right.
You could either, if I said to you, you could either never take a picture in the rest of your life or never have sex. Which one would you choose?
What?
Learn to paint.
Learn to paint.
Yeah, no, it's probably over for photography.
Over for photography.
Yeah, I mean, my wife would kill me.
I mean, I'm just. I understand you have a wife, right? But I'm just saying in general, like, if you had to choose.
Hypothetically. Oh man, you gotta like turn me into a eunuch or something. So chop them off.
We know the answer.
I thought it was gonna be take a photo or never listen to music again.
Oh, that's a good one.
That would be a really crazy one for me.
So what would that be? If you never take a photo or never listen to music?
I'm sorry for the photographers and those who believe in me, but I need music.
You need music.
I need music.
Music is your life.
Yeah, I need music.
Interesting.
If I don't listen to music or like albums or songs for like even like 2, 3, 4 days, I like it messes with me.
Rugged.
Do you listen to music while you paint?
I listen to nothing while I do my work.
Interesting.
I can't like focus to the same level if there's anything going on at all. I've tried it because I like music a lot, but something about like while I'm actually painting or creating, like if there's anything distracting.
And are you focused on the art, or is there other things going on in your head usually?
No, just the art, just like what I'm trying to do. Like I just, I'm kind of one track that way. Like I just have to like focus everything on the one thing I'm doing. I can't split my focus.
What did you do before being an artist?
I've been an artist for as long as I can. Like,
did you go to art school or just?
I studied art history.
Art history
in school. I got into art right after school. And so that's just kind of what I've been doing the whole time.
That's amazing. So, Guy, why don't you tell us about your little project that I think is amazing?
Little project?
No, the photography one.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's just a phenomenal idea. I don't know, Jay, did you ever see this one that he's doing? It's so great.
I love it.
Yeah, so I have a Fujiroid with the built-in printer. So it's a digital camera with the printer built in, and people can take pictures and then print the ones that they like. So the project is, I took the first picture, I minted it, and I signed the physical, and whoever won the auction, I mailed it to them, and it was their turn to decide on a picture to print, sign, and then list for auction. So each person gets the physical and the digital version of it.
That's amazing. I think I have seen that.
And it gets passed, and like every time someone buys it, the next one, it gets passed to them. It gets passed to them. I think Artifaction has one now.
Yes, already has it right now.
And Fuck Render did it.
He wants to do it. He
bid
a few times. He's bid a few times.
How many times has it been passed now?
I think Artie's number 5.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there a time frame when they get it, or is it just like
supposed to be?
It's supposed to be a couple weeks.
They don't do a worm hostile takeover.
Then Artification goes on. Artie goes on vacation for like 7 weeks, and then,
right.
He's got to run
delayed a little.
3 ultra marathons before he can take this picture. He just needs the inspiration.
And do you just want to keep that going as long as you can? And
yeah. I mean, I was hoping to have like one every other week type thing.
Right.
But it is going a little slow, which fine.
I don't think it's so bad, actually. I think that's nice.
Yeah. It's been fine, and it's going to be a nice project in the long term. I have no plans to stop it unless like someone just
that was going so slow. We're like,
rugs me.
What happens if someone takes like a picture of their junk? I think what do you do then?
Maybe.
They're paying a lot of money to take pictures.
Right.
I know. I hopefully they don't do that. I don't know.
It would be
Picture of a chair.
I'm not saying Artie's taking a picture of his junk, but that would be kind of interesting. He's like, I'm anonymous, but I'll show you my junk. This is if you recognize my junk, then you know who I am outside of NFT Twitter.
Benny Big is projecting.
Yeah. Well, listen. Now I'm going to win that one day. I have a great picture in mind. Actually, I've been thinking about for a while, just waiting for my moment. And then, where we were at? We were talking about photography. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Patrick, so you tell us a little bit. Your art is different. It's not just glitch art. I think it's like there's a lot of aspects to it. But we were talking about how you love the chaos and certain things. What speaks to you about all these like sort of moments and that I notice that you talk about? And
yeah, thanks. I don't know. I'm kind of interested in like the role art can play in telling narratives about different things. And I think it's interesting when art is reflective and critical of, kind of our shared experience. That's always the art I've been drawn to. I've always been drawn to I always go back to like Banksy. I know he's a lot of people's favorites, but I always like when he does something, he's like poking something. Like he did this series in the Gaza Strip, almost a decade ago now.
Yeah.
Phenomenal work, like just doing a lot of work with the walls there and, kind of the situation. I thought that was really interesting. And that was one thing that really pivoted kind of how I approached my practice. So when I started, most people that get into art, it's like, cool, I can make something abstract look all right. And you like go down the abstract rabbit hole. And so I started doing that, but at the same time, I was always interested in a lot of the political events. So I was doing glitches around like the beginnings of the Syrian civil war. I was doing them around the Ferguson protests. I was doing them around when Nemtsov was killed in Russia. So I was always interested in those, but they're always separate. So it was like I do the art over here, I do the political stuff over here, but they never intersected until I had a conversation with Jerry Saltz in 2016. I was like, like we'd gotten to know each other on Twitter, and I was like, okay, like, what do you think about what I'm doing? And he looked at my work and he's like, okay. He's like, pure zombie formalism. Start over.
Ooh.
I was like, okay, interesting. And I like let it digest a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what he was saying to me was that you basically like abstract because, I came up art history background. Yeah, my teachers loved abstract. They loved Rothko. They loved Richter. They loved all of the people that we all know. And then they shared that love with me. And then when I got into making art, that was what I loved. That was like, so it was like they taught me that. That was kind of the formalist part of it. But he was also saying like, you know, the art world has moved past abstract work. That was like popular up until about the 70s. And then now contemporary art world is not abstract anymore. Now the contemporary art world has moved on to other things. So he's like, it's kept alive by a bunch of people continuing to make it, even though it's effectively dead as art.
And you felt that helped you a lot when he gave you that?
Yeah, he gave me the tip. I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's like a big criticism, but I knew it was right. And I feel like I feel grateful that I was able to like listen to what he was saying and make a change. And it was helpful to me because I stepped back and I was like, how do I actually like implement this in my practice? And I looked at it, I was like, well, I'm doing all this political stuff that I really like, that has a real narrative that I care about. And I'm doing this art over here, which has no narrative. It's just, I think it looks cool. And then at that point I started merging the two. I was like, okay, well now on, I'm just like, I'm going to do stuff that I actually care about and make art about that. And then from then on, it was like, it all started clicking a lot more.
And I think people sometimes actually look at someone like Jerry and they're like, oh, I don't want to listen to him. He doesn't know what he's talking about, but he does, you know, he knows art. Right. And I think that our space needs a little bit more critiquing. I think everybody's kind of scared to be like, hey, that's amazing. And you're like, oh, that's not that great, you know? And I don't think it's helping artists that much in our space when they're not getting like honesty, you know? And that's not to say people's art is bad. It's just that, you know, if you're making this into your profession, you need to grow and change, right? You can't just like, oh, this is going to work. And there's very few artists that get that lucky, right? You know, like Sam Spratt was telling us, he started with a paper bag, right? Now he has Lucy, but from there to here, that took him years of practice to get to.
Yeah.
So
speaking of from like there to here and politics, you know, this morning I think I read a tweet about the Hong Kong piece getting taken down by the government.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
It felt great.
Yeah, and like you
It's
want to talk
very
a little bit about
validating.
the piece and like what that meant, and then like what it meant to put it up on the billboard in Hong Kong,
Yeah.
and then
nice.
get it taken down.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So the Art Innovation Gallery reached out when they first did it in New York, and they're like, "Do you want to put something up on a billboard?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm cool. I'm good." And then they reached out in Miami. They're like, "Do you want to put something up on our boat in Miami?" I was like, "I'm good." And then they reached out and they're like, "You know, we'd love to work with you. You know, we have a billboard going up in Hong Kong. You know, would you like to put something on it?" And I was like, "Oh, this is different. Like this is very different." And I thought, and I was like, you know what? Like they're probably not going to have the same level of censorship or oversight in terms of what goes on the board. Because that's going from like the billboard company to this random art gallery who's already been approved to put it on there. Like, I bet I can sneak something in here. And I was trying to figure out just how far I could go before it would get flagged. You know, because I know that like Winnie the Pooh is, you know, used in a lot of graffiti to make fun of Xi. And I thought that would have just been a little too far, despite how much I wanted to put like Winnie the Pooh graffiti in the piece. So I settled on like no rioters, only tyranny, and like a free Hong Kong thing that was tucked in there. And then, but I wanted something more subversive and kind of thinking narrative, like what would be good. So I had the surveillance camera because, you know, I feel like they've turned into like a vassal surveillance state in the course of 2 years. And I said, you know, let's put the protesters and like the rioters, let's recognize the people that knew they were going to lose. It's the Chinese government. And they're a city. Like they can't stand up to that, especially after you saw the effort that they were putting in to crush the rebellion. So, you know, just so much respect for like what the protesters like knew they were getting themselves into. They knew they were walking into jail sentences by leading this, and they did it and made like a huge effort. So I wanted to put them and their sentences in the piece. But I knew you can't just like list it on there. People just notice it immediately. So it comes back to the medium. You know, every medium gives you has different qualities that lend itself to be able to tell narratives in a different way, right? Like photography allows you to tell narratives in a very different way than painting, which tells you in a different way than this. So I feel like when you really understand what your medium is, you learn how to tell narratives within your medium. And I think that's one of the most interesting things you see with artists that have been doing something for a while. Like Jan knows how to tell a narrative with his photography in a much different way than someone who's just kind of getting started.
yeah, definitely a storyteller.
Yeah. So with Glitch, right, you have a lot of different frames, so you can fit in, you know, it's like the Fight Club, right?
Yeah.
Like the cigarette burn, he splices in like the sex scene for
Yeah.
like one frame, like, and gets a kick out of it. It's kind of like that, right? If you have a bunch of different frames, you can splice in a bunch of information that people don't notice at the first pass.
Is Fight Club one of your favorite movies?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could tell.
Yeah. I mean, it's spirit animal right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I figured I could just, splice in a bunch of this information that was very subversive in Hong Kong, but would probably go unnoticed. People are like, oh, cool. That looks nice. Yeah.
Awesome.
Surveillance camera, cool.
How many days was it up for before it got taken down?
5 days.
That's the
Yeah.
impressive part.
5 days.
5 days.
1,400 square foot billboard.
It's a massive building.
Right.
It's like a whole city block.
Yeah. Right in the middle of like downtown Hong Kong, like where everybody was.
I wonder who saw that and was like, I wonder like what smoke alarm went off.
Now the Chinese government's after you.
Yeah, I just love that thousands of people saw it, and then I think it started. Free Hong Kong Press reached out, and they're like, "Tell us about this thing. Like, what is this?" So I told them about it and helped them get some footage and helped them get some
Did they hit
shots
any
of
press,
like
mainstream at all, or
So I'll get to that. So they published an article about it, and then CNN Hong Kong reached out. They're in the middle of like trying to get a story published. So we did a whole thing last night about it. They're trying to they're like, everything gets taken down by the government. So they're trying to figure out how to get it published and not get it taken down immediately.
it solves that problem. The blockchain.
Put it on a mirror.
Yeah.
article.
Exactly. Can never take it off once it's on the chain.
Yeah, so the word got out and people got to see like all the different names and everything in there through the article. And
How'd
then
you get their names?
Just public information. I just look back and like, okay, arrest records.
Are those public in China?
They're scattered, right? So a lot of it's like public information,
Right.
like more like nonprofits and kind of free speech organizations will list like, hey, this person got arrested for this person got arrested for this, and it's always like crazy stuff where
Right.
people get like beaten up by random thugs. I mean, it's really dark.
Like it wasn't the cops; it was like just some random person.
Yeah, I mean, you see that in like Iran, right? Iran has the whole security
I think
force
you
of just
see it
thugs.
Pretty much in almost any country, including ours sometimes.
Yeah.
I think there was, a lot of times that happens. So talking about Fight Club, who would you choose to fight from our community if you had to do a Fight Club?
If I had to do a fight club,
Like you versus somebody else.
I feel like
Who's going to be?
you want to fight. You kind of fight your friends, like
Yeah,
like,
that's fine.
That's
You can
part of
fight.
the getting to know people.
So who would it be?
I'm gonna get myself into trouble because so many people are anons, so it's like based on their Twitter profile, I feel like I might win, but then I'll meet them in real life and they're like 6'5".
Yeah.
So it's gonna end poorly.
Yeah. So who would you pick? Now I'm curious.
I would go with. I'd say max capacity.
I mean, with a name like that, you sure?
Yeah.
You put it like that, I feel like I'm walking into it. Now he's a friend. He's a OG glitch artist. He does mechanical glitches. Like I love his work. I think he's pretty under the radar. But we go all the way back to Tumblr.
Oh, interesting.
So we started like glitching stuff a decade ago before you could even post GIFs on Twitter. Back then it was like you would do it on Tumblr and then share the link to Tumblr on Twitter. And that was how you did it. So there's like a Kid McGrath, Max, X. We're all part of like the glitch Tumblr community back before we could start doing it on Twitter.
Copy was, you knew him, his art, and working with him back then? Or?
Yeah, I probably a decade now.
Wow.
Like from the old days.
That's amazing.
Pac too, remarkably. So Pac was in digital art back in like 2013.
I mean,
so
I don't know if he did it or he had somebody else do it for him, but maybe it's the only
to be
difference.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, but and some of the new ones are great. Like even like you look at like Neon Glitch and Ack. I love Ack, and I love even like Ack is I think great. I think even Eclectic Method in a lot of ways is a sort of like
Eclectic Method is great.
Yeah.
I love Eclectic Method. I love. They're always very pointed with their opinions, and I think it's great.
They are. Yeah. I mean, everybody has an opinion in this space.
I hate agreeing with people though. I would much rather like disagree with somebody half the time and then really appreciate their opinion half the time than just have somebody who you just never disagree with and are always like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
like,
true. And like,
yeah,
I don't
that's
think
good.
there's anything wrong with disagreeing in the space. I think my only thing I have an issue with is like, I don't think there's ever really a place to try to hurt another artist, right?
I think I know what you're talking about, and yeah, you can definitely go over
I
the
think
line
sometimes
there for
people
sure.
have opinions, and I think sometimes people could be attacking, and I think there's a difference, and I think you always have to be.
I think we're talking about the exact same scenario, and I agree with you. I think that was over the line for sure. Like,
I mean, we could just say I don't really care. So
Oh, I was trying.
no. So I mean, Neon, he wrote that thing about Ack with the pianos. I don't know Neon Glitch, but I think he's insanely talented. I think a lot of the people who are friends with him are insanely talented, but I also think Ack is insanely talented. And you know, I understand sometimes people are like, oh, I could do that. It's so easy. But guess what? You didn't do it.
Didn't do it.
Right? Like, that's what it is. That's like some people could look at your photography and be like, well, I could take that picture, but you didn't. And you know, instead of sort of like attacking an artist that way, I would be like, okay, you know, like I could have done that. So now what could I do? And kind of grow on those things, you know? Like, I think that to me is like the big difference. Even though Dee's is saying, like, I don't know if I was supposed to bring up that situation. Yeah, I mean, but like,
It's like the way that you were naming, you know, the names and
you know
that.
what? I didn't do it on purpose, but I feel like
It's all you were thinking about.
it was like on my mind already, so I probably brought them up. But I do consider Eclectic Method sort of a glitch artist because his music is very glitchy. Like, that's his whole thing, and I happen to love him. I think he's an obscure, odd, amazing, like, kind of artist, you know, so I kind of love that. But, you know, we haven't seen a lot of, like, but then there's other artists that people, like, I think are so amazing, but even under the radar. Like, to me, Newer Color is sort of a glitch artist. I mean, he's just an artist, but he, to me, is, I said this the other day that I thought he was underrated, and someone's like, what do you mean he's underrated? I'm like, well, to us, he isn't, but to, like, a lot of people in the community, they don't even know who Newer Color is, but, like, he is amazing, you know, and you know, when I finally got to meet him and talk to him, you realize, like, how special he is. You know, I know you love him, so, and, like, you know, that whole crew down in Mexico City, and
They're incredible.
Yeah.
No, all of them are incredible. I just want to ask, who would you fight? Is there a collector?
oh,
Which collector? That's
I would fight a lot of people.
Why don't we set it up? You know, there's the wait. Also, what kind of fight is it? Like,
No, this is a
Fight Night style?
No,
Is it
Fight
boxing?
Club. No, Fight Club.
just straight up brawl?
Like, I want someone to break my nose.
Okay,
I want to go all out. I want my body to be broken. I want to go home to my wife
just
and be like, I feel like a man. That's the kind of fight.
Okay.
Problem is, I can't beat up anybody in the space. So who I would pick if, like, I was like, are you saying
Sobe.
Oh yeah, that's it, dude. I get like, do I get like 3 months to train at least?
Or you both go in the ring tomorrow.
I'm done. Definitely Sobe. That would be great. I would definitely fight Sobe. I think I would fight Sobe. Sobe would be a good fight for me. So, yeah. Why? Who would you fight?
I don't know. That's a really tough one.
You get kind of shoved in, and it happens.
No, I think I know who you would fight. I think it would be a great fight because you guys are such great friends. But you're like, you're so good and you're so close, but you love each other like brothers. So, like, you fight like brothers. You and Dave for sure would be a good fight.
No, that wouldn't be a good fight.
Yeah.
Dave is so frail.
Why would you?
I love Dave.
You can't hurt him.
I would destroy him. I'm sorry.
Would you fight Phil?
Oh my god, that would be an amazing
That would
fight.
be a good
Phil and
fight.
I.
Yeah.
Phil would probably kill me, but it would be so honorable.
Dude, Phil's
I will. Yeah.
Phil is crazy. Phil makes the best gifs, by the way. You don't know this, but it's just a little secret.
He's also an incredible fighter.
Is he?
I witnessed many of them in college. Yeah.
Oh, really? Wait, tell us about this. Did he kill somebody?
No, Phil and I both got along at that moment of our lives. We were both very kind of like distraught, and we had a lot of like angst and just like anger and you know, it was a lot of rough years leading up to us meeting in college, and we were both very like frustrated, and it was great because we kind of bonded over basketball. And basketball, and if you know me, like I played basketball my whole life.
You love basketball.
I love basketball so much.
What team do you root for? I actually don't know that.
So I played at Bloomfield College for a little bit, and then when I went to Rutgers, I played in Memorial High School.
So you're a Knicks fan?
No, I am not a Knicks fan. No.
Oh, what are you?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Now I really like the Heat, but yeah, I'm sorry. They're beautiful.
Did you like the
I
Heat
love the
because
Nets.
LeBron James went there?
No, so I love the Nets because I grew up in New Jersey, and that was the first team that I saw, and like the Kerry Kittles, Jason.
Yeah,
Kidd,
oh my God, those are the
Stephon
days.
Marbury.
Yeah.
That was a great team.
They made the finals one year,
and then they betrayed us and went to Brooklyn, and I was like, all right, never mind. But also, my favorite player ever was Ray Allen.
Okay.
And I kind of just like wherever Ray Allen went, that was the team that I pay attention to, and like my whole basketball game is like modeled after just a lot of running around.
I get what you're saying completely because I grew up with a team that had Chris Mullin on it, so I mean, like I really embraced the Warriors. I mean, we had a legendarily terrible team. It was.
I don't know, but so you follow the players.
Are you still a Warriors fan now?
Yeah, it's easier to be a fan now than it was growing up, for
I
sure.
happen
Though
to like going to basketball games more than any other sport.
Basketball is the best sport
because
and the NBA is the
there's just so much scoring, and you can just chill and like not pay attention. Like hockey, I hate going to hockey. Because I go to hockey and I miss the goal. I'm like, oh, game's over. Like, that's it. I missed the whole game. Like, why did I even come? Like, it's so annoying, you know? Baseball, when it's like nice weather also, like, I guess. But like basketball, I enjoy it that way.
If you have good company, I got to throw a baseball into the ring.
Yeah.
You just you can talk and no one cares if you're talking. You're expected you just chill the whole time and no one pays attention.
I take my girls now to the baseball games. I have like season tickets to the Mets and they love it. And like, I just sit with them. They chill. They hang out. No phones. It's actually interesting. It's like the only time I don't have to have a phone. They don't have an iPad. And it's like, oh, we're just kind of hanging out because they're forced to watch the game.
Yeah.
You know?
That's great. But yeah, so Phil and I played a ton of basketball, and that was where I got all my like anger out too. Like almost every fight that I've ever been involved in was a basketball fight. And I used to do all our street basketball. We used to do something called representing, where we get a minivan, get the 5 best players from our town, and go to every city in New Jersey and New York.
Is this a real thing?
And just play. We just call it represent. We get the call, like, you want to go represent? I'm like, okay. And we go represent our city and just go play basketball.
Did you play for money? It was like White Man Can't Jump or something?
It was kind of like a similar scenario. We had this one dude who was really good, and he was the best shit talker you'll ever see in your life. And he used to get people angry. And like, I remember like having to run from people in Jersey City because they were like, run to the van, we just gotta go. And you know,
wow. So Phil's good at basketball?
He's amazing. We make a great. We just played on Sunday.
You play 1-to-1. Who wins?
The hardest question of the night.
Only we go back and forth, but I have better stamina. The whole thing is stamina. I can like outlast and outrun people for a long time. I'm really good.
Can you run like 7 miles?
If it weren't for my hip, just like my heart stamina is amazing. I could now, but yeah.
So I make a list of people I want to take with me on my zombie apocalypse. So I just want to know. I want to know how long you could last for. Like Deez is definitely coming with me because I need someone to make sure he puts together our dabs.
Yeah.
Right. But so like we need Deez for that. But but I need someone who also has a lot of stamina.
I feel like I'm getting minus points for facial hair in the apocalypse, though.
Yeah. You need facial hair for an apocalypse.
Yeah.
I think so. Can you grow facial hair?
Not well.
So this is shaved.
Just try it.
Why don't you try it? See what happens.
Oh, I have. I'm. You know.
I want to see some photos.
I've been around.
Now, did you decide to shave your head?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you feel freer?
I've been doing it for 15 years now. Yeah.
Right.
I like it. It's easy.
It makes it a lot easier. When it gets smooth also. I don't know why I'm talking about this. But I just shaved my head this morning, so I was just touching my head, and I was thinking about your head.
Oh, you said it.
So, yeah.
Appreciate that.
So tell us, so you and Phil were beating people up in college, and you became a photographer. Phil's an artist. He has an amazing... Wait, Phil, are you married?
Phil's married.
Yeah, Phil. Okay, Phil's wife is amazing. I met her a bunch of times. Great. You guys have two great couples. You're sitting there and you decide that you want to build Animus. And Animus, to me, I love the lounge. I love everything you guys do. what exactly, because you have this amazing past that's, by the time this comes out, it'll be out. So you can definitely talk about it, but I'm just so curious about like how that kind of happened, where you guys are going, like, you know, because Animus represents, there's a lot of artists that I know who come to the lounge and they're like, this is the place I love to hang out. A lot of builders who started there are like, I started because I got great information from JN and Phil and Animus, you know? So, you know, there's a lot of great stuff going on.
Animus origin story. Yeah. So Phil and I, you know, again, best friends since college. I got him, kind of just forced him to become a photographer.
Wait, did you guys ever date the same girl?
No, never. Not even close.
As far as you know.
No,
Okay,
100% no.
Okay.
But, you know, honestly, after college, we had some time where we were both trying to figure out what the hell we were going to do next. And I started doing the photography thing. And I was like, hey, I'm hosting all these meetups. You should come. He's like, I'm not a creative. I was like, just come. I'll give you a camera. And we shot sunrise, and he met a lot of really cool people. And he's like, oh, this is actually kind of fun. And I was like, dude, I'll teach you photography. And then just by way of hanging out with me, he got really amazing at photography, to the point that we were both getting a lot of work, but it was always separate. And then he realized that, like, oh, this is not fun. Like, we just really enjoy working together. So he's like, what skills should I learn so that we can start working together more? And then he started learning video and video editing, because I always need an editor, I always need a videographer, and then someone to just do, you know, help me out with that. And then he learned that. And then over the pandemic, we actually started an agency called Lunchline, and 2020 was going to be our biggest year yet. We had all these activations that we're going to do with a lot of major brands, activating at all these music festivals, and we called it Lunchline because like everybody eats, and it was like putting on our friends. And that was like the whole purpose of Lunchline, was like all this work that I was getting from these huge brands. It got to the point that I couldn't take on all that work myself. So it was like an advising agency where they were like, oh, we need a photographer in San Francisco. I'm like, all right, I know exactly who it is because of this community that I know built on IG.
And then,
right? Boom. And then the pandemic hit, lost.
Here's so many stories like that.
Lost every job that we had for the year. And luckily, Phil was actually how I learned about Bitcoin in 2017 because of his friends, and he got me on. And, you know, I met a lot of amazing analysts and crypto builders in 2018 at Consensus in New York, including Charles Reed, an incredible friend of ours who became one of my best friends and mentors. And, you know, Charles is just an incredible dot connector, and he added me to just like the most brilliant chats on Telegram. And I had been in these chats kind of just like checking in and seeing what was going on in crypto 2018 and 19, and just learning a ton. And when 2020 came about, I actually started a group chat on Telegram, and it was called the Pandemic Lounge. And it was just to have like a support group for people who like lost a lot of work and creatives. And I just wanted, like, yeah, let's have a place where we can talk every day, share updates about what's going on in the pandemic. And around that time, you know, printers started going burr, crypto started going crazy. And I was like, well, I know how to trade. I'm in these group chats with all these amazing people who are giving me the best alpha. And Phil and I just like dialed it in and started just like, you know, 24/7 crypto.
It's amazing.
And we started seeing, you know, kind of like the DeFi narrative coming up. And, you know, a lot of people in the chats were building projects and coming out. And I was just like, I noticed like their art is terrible. I'm like, their marketing's terrible. They're creative. The decks that they were showing, I was like, this is just garbage. So I started asking around. I was like, hey, do you need creatives to, you know, we can help you with marketing? I have like a marketing background at this point. I know all these artists who are out of work. They were like, yeah, we could use that. So we needed to make another kind of like business. So that's why we originally made Animus. And it was, you know, the 5 people that are, you know, Animus is comprised of are just my friends who are out of work, my best friends. And we were just making NFTs and marketing assets for DeFi protocols during DeFi summer. But once I saw that and that was an opportunity, I was like, I started hitting up all my designer friends or my, you know, illustrators, and they're like, hey, I think I could get work doing, you know, stuff for crypto DeFi protocols. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, you know, decentralized finance and Bitcoin. And they're like, I don't understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I started just getting, you know, on these one-on-one calls with all my creative friends, kind of like first onboarding them to crypto so that then they could make art. And then once I did enough of that, I was like, well, now I'm just onboarding and educating people. I need to make like a guide. So we made a very well curated Padlet link with all of the articles and podcasts and just a guide to onboard people into crypto and NFTs. And then I made the Animus Lounge for a place for people to come and do that. And then all my friends just started coming in. And
it filled up.
then it became a community. And
Yep.
I didn't like the agency model because, I don't know, agencies are, a lot of the times are also like reductive, as you say, and then they take a lot. And we're like, I don't like this. I think we should like kind of rebrand and make this an artist collective and just make it a support group for artists to, onboard and educate them and just, kind of like by artists for artists community.
Right.
And yeah, the community's grown very
And now
organically.
you're doing. I know you guys are making a movie.
So
Nello,
now
that's
we have
part
like
of
Animus.
Animus.
Yeah, so we have Animus, kind of like Animus Studios. We very early on we advised for a lot of the major marketplaces. We did a lot of work with Eternity early on. So we like, for example, Eternity came to us and like, hey, we're doing a big drop for Muhammad Ali. This is the concept. We want like, what do you think? Would be a great artist choice for this? And I'm like, well, I know this guy Raf Cressetti. He's like an incredible sculptor. Maybe he can do it. And like I reached out to Graf, and that was like one of his first projects was doing the Muhammad Ali drop.
That's how he got that. I didn't know
for
that.
Eternity. So I was kind of just connecting people with platforms where we're like, oh, we need this. And I was like, oh, I know that person. And by means of that, I connected a lot of really amazing artists to a lot of like life-changing projects for them.
Now you're an ARB multimillionaire, right?
No.
So-
Well, we'll see if ARB opens.
Right. ARB opens up. But you guys are doing your pass on Arbitrum.
Yeah, so
That's kind of exciting.
So continuing kind of like with the lore of Animus, we did a collective. We've done multiple collective drops. The first one was with DJ Premier on Nifty Gateway. That was like a huge honor because obviously I'm a huge music head and he's, to me, the greatest hip hop producer of all time. And we did an amazing drop on Nifty Gateway for Bitcoin Miami 2021. We actually got him to come down. Did you go to that party, the Bitcoin 2021, where DJ Premier was there? That's where my Size Chat. Oh, okay, no. So that was the year before. It was
which is funny because Size Basil is now part of Arbitrum.
Yeah, but the Bitcoin 2021 party was epic because that was the first time any of us, like the NFT community, we invaded Bitcoin 2021.
Yes, that is very
true. That was
true.
the first time Fuel came out.
Yes.
That was the first time I met ThinkX
and
in
it's
person.
funny because the Bitcoin Miami events used to be like
Super
cringe,
maxi. Yeah.
super like.
And we threw the dopest event.
Yeah.
Animus threw, and it was with Rarestone, Charles is fun. Yeah. It was everyone was like, what? You got DJ Premier to come do a set after the pandemic? He played like an extra hour and a half because he said the vibe was so good. It was like an epic party. And then from there, we're like, oh, we can do like live events too.
Right.
So, then we did the A5 event at
Yep, that was
NFTC.
amazing.
Then we
Remember
did
that.
NFTC. So now it's grown into not only are we like a community, but we're advising, we're doing events, and we have merch and we've done all these things. And then last year kind of went into like a rebuilding mode. And we're like, all right, how can we kind of like take this to the next level? And funny enough, Size Chad, he's like, hey man, like I love what you're doing in the lounge. Like me and all the Arbitrum guys are in there, and it feels like the most organic community that I've been a part of. And I think that's what everyone says when they're in there. It's like, it's just very organic.
No,
it's good vibes.
It feels real, and it feels like you can ask anything you want.
Yeah.
And then you have access to people who.
And
are
exactly, like I'm
you
there
should know.
all the time. If anyone asks me what's the fastest way to reach them, just go to the lounge and ask me anything, and I'll.
And now you separate it into all these rooms.
Yeah, and we have different rooms. The AI room is going crazy right now.
So, if you were on a deserted island with Phil, and it was just the two of you, and you were not going to have food for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, only one of you could survive. Who would eat who to survive?
Knowing Phil, he'd probably like
Knock you
himself,
out when you're
I don't-
sleeping?
Yeah, he would know.
He would take it.
But
back.
no, I think we would just die together, like broing it out.
Phil, would you die together, or would you eat JN when he's sleeping? He let you eat him. Okay.
But anyhow, so Arbitrum came and said, hey, we want to get more artists on Arbitrum and kind of like empower and educate people. And, we talked to them all of last year to make sure that they truly had the right intentions. And then they sponsored our Art Basel event,
It was
which
a great
super
event.
fun.
Super nice. Loved it.
Really, really good
Yeah.
time. And now we're coming out with the Animus Pass on Arbitrum soon enough. And it's going to get you kind of like access to our whole ecosystem. Yeah, so the Arbitrage Pass is going to, get you access to the whole Animus ecosystem. And we're going to be continuing to just do a lot of art drops. We're going to do the in-person events, the merch, and it's going to
I'm very excited. I think
the best part is we get to give it away.
Yeah.
We're only selling a very small supply for any outsider that kind of wants to come in and buy.
Let's make
But
sure
we're giving-
let's
yeah.
sure we get Guy and
get-
these on that list.
Yeah, we'll get you all
We need
some
really
Animus
important.
passes.
We need important people.
Yeah, no, I'm super
You guys
excited.
gave me one. I'm not important. So.
And then with the studios, I'm the executive producer for a film called
Yes.
Buscando America with Nello.
Yes,
We're doing a full-length feature film in Colombia, and it's a magical realism
very excited for that.
movie about corruption in Latin America.
I have to say, I've been working with you guys on
Yeah.
that, and I think I'm going to come down with you when you film.
Oh,
I'm a
please
little scared
do.
about it.
No, it'll be a good time. So we have that collection coming out probably in around the month. I think I can say that now.
Yeah.
But it was
it's public.
we spent
On OpenSea,
on OpenSea.
well, we could say that.
We can say it now.
because it's
Yeah, so it'll be a feature drop on OpenSea. We've been working with those guys, and,
Yeah.
and they really like the project. We're doing a whole takeover. I'm highlighting a bunch of Latin American photographers and artists on the page on that day. It's gonna be all photos from.
But it's a great moment.
We went location scouting in Medellin, and we got access to places that no one gets access to.
Yeah.
Like we went to every single commune, interviewed the wildest people, drug lords, community leaders.
They were texting me
politicians.
from it and sending me pictures. I'm like, yo, this looks crazy.
It was wild.
It was
we
wild.
shot a documentary about it, which will be out soon. We actually just premiered it in 2 museums in Colombia, and we got really amazing feedback and great.
The
reviews,
footage is
so-
amazing. The story is amazing. I remember Julie Piccino, who is, in my opinion, a great film director. She loved Nello's stuff.
She said, "This is the best thing I've seen in film and Web3 by far."
It's really that good.
Yeah.
So
we're
You had
super
me
excited.
at corruption.
corrupt.
Yeah, you would love it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you would
It's
really,
really
like
the
it.
story is
It's really
crazy. I mean, I don't know what I could say or not say, but you will love the idea of
Yeah.
what they're doing, with sort of the special effects and fitting in the story of this sort of mystical sort of corruption thing. It's
magical
brilliant.
realism and
Yeah.
what personifies corruption is this very cool
Yeah.
character.
And Nello,
He's an Emmy-nominated filmmaker.
yeah, he
Some
did.
Web3.
He almost won an Emmy this year. He was nominated for a documentary he did, and he's just also one of the.
Documentary
guy.
about the protests in Venezuela
Yeah.
for 4 years.
You should watch it.
Oh, amazing.
It's on HBO Max.
Okay.
Yeah, you should definitely watch it.
Yeah. I'll check it out.
So that's our project. You can actually buy. We have kind of a semi-stealth mint going on right now, and it's these rings. The rings are actually going to be all over the movie, and certain characters are going to wear.
One
these rings
ether, you
as-
become executive director.
1 ETH, and you could become a producer of the documentary.
I
and
bought-
$20 gets you on the
Was I the
list.
first one to buy?
You were.
Makes me feel better.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
executive producer.
Well, I think I've been working with Nello on it for a while because I just when you
Yeah.
introduced me. I was
I'm gonna
like,
do a
yo,
whole thread on it probably tomorrow, and
I'm
I'll
very
share all
excited.
this stuff for everyone.
Yeah, it's-
but I'm incredibly excited about that.
I think it's going to be great. I mean, just the history of Medellin that I learned was phenomenal. Right?
Mhm.
You only know it because Pablo Escobar, but it's it's so much more rich. And then there's this layers of it.
So many layers
Yeah.
to the history of Medellin, and what's interesting is that everyone there just welcomes us because we're doing it authentically. We're shooting in Medellin. We're using actors from the city. Nello and Alex, the director, come from a music background, so
Yeah.
we're making a music album, and we're getting the top rappers and reggaeton artists in all of South America. They're going to be a part of the project,
And
so
I
it's going to
think-
be epic.
And we talked about this. And this is not just South America, but I know this from South America now. But then I started looking into other countries. A lot of these, countries countries in South America, there's a lot of these amazing artists that don't have access to even the smallest cameras or video cameras or whatever they need to make their footage. But they're highly talented people. And the same thing Tretta was telling me, in Ethiopia, they have this highly sort of creative people that just don't have the basic access or tools that we have. And I think that that's really what drove me to understanding, because what you guys wanted to do was start getting those creatives.
Yeah, so
to
we're gonna
be
get
able to
a
see it.
percentage. So we're funding a full length feature, so it's gonna be a long process, and we've broken it down into different stages of development. But at every stage, whatever mint we do, we're donating a percentage of the proceeds to do workshops
So cool.
in all of the communes in Medellin to get cameras and acting and dancing teachers to come and give lessons to all the kids, because that was the coolest part. Like we would get, all of these communes over there have one single point of entrance, and as soon as you go in, everyone, there's scouts, they know when you're in there if you have a camera, so you have to kind of be allowed in, and they already know. But once you're in and they see that you're with the right person, everyone is incredibly friendly, and you see the kids coming out, and you'd be like, is that an iPhone 14? Is this a drone?
Except when I go down, I feel like I'm not going to belong. I'm going to look very
If you're
different.
with us, you'll be okay.
Guy, why don't you come down with me? We'll go together, but this is what happened. We'll start like another family down there. Like we'll have children like Benito, things like that. Like we'll pick different wives down there, and our wives won't know. And then we'll just say, we're going to shoot a movie.
Decentralized, sir.
Yeah, totally decentralized.
Totally.
Are you down for that?
Dude, I'm not leaving this country.
Have you ever left this country?
NorCal.
Yeah.
Where'd you go outside of this country?
I've been to Romania and Sweden, Finland, Germany,
So you've been
Austria.
around. Yeah. That's actually a nice trip over there.
Yeah.
I'm going to Japan this year. I'm very excited.
Are you on for Bright Moments?
I'm doing it.
Should
You
I
should
go?
come. Yeah.
Okay.
You should come. You're not going, right?
Rio's over there right now.
I heard. By the way, Rio's new AI stuff is like
Rio's
melting my
the most
brain.
underrated artist, in my opinion. He's
so
a
good.
producer, 3D artist, AR artist, VR artist.
And he's such a nice person.
He's the best. We spent 3 months in Miami, from Art Basel till he went to Japan. Got to like really, I'm into like this whole shamanic phase almost, where I'm just like meditating for like very long times and getting to sound healing. And
So I downloaded that app, by the way.
stuff. Well, yeah,
It's
dude,
been good.
Hit the meditation.
Do you meditate?
No.
No, not even
Meditate,
close. How about you, Deez? Do you meditate?
I don't meditate in the traditional sense. I get high and contemplate things and go on walks and think.
That's true. You do your limit.
But
and sometimes when we do, I feel like we have deep text messages sometimes when we're both high.
I used to do
Yeah.
Headspace in college, and then I stopped doing it.
Right.
I think I don't know, if you count the walks with no like
I guess that's
AirPods,
better. Yeah.
that's my closest thing to meditation.
I think what I'm realizing more and more, and I don't know, maybe Guy, I'm curious how you feel about this, but like unplugging
Oh yeah.
is
You have
becoming.
to.
I need to do it more.
Yeah.
Like it's becoming a thing, especially like when you have kids.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I looked at my phone the other day, and I'm just like, the amount of hours I was on my phone, and then I'm not. I'll just say this, like not that I was home and I was texting Deez about schedule for the podcast, and my daughter came up to me and said, "Can you put your phone down?"
Oof.
You know,
That hurts,
it like was
dude.
like I was like, oh
It
man,
cuts.
like I was like, wow, like it hit me like right here. I was like,
Yeah,
wait, what is that?
it
Like,
does.
am I always on my phone? You know? And I think that in our space we need to do it. It's funny, they have digital detoxes on Saturdays now, which for me is just Sabbath. But like I think we need to do this in a space more of being conscious, especially with mental health of we don't need to be on Twitter all the time.
Right.
You know? And I get like there's a part like you don't want to miss things, and subtweeting is part of the game, and you know, I get all that, especially for artists. But if you don't unplug, like I think you're like losing sort of sight of what's really happening.
I think a lot of that comes from just like a over focus on engagement. People look at their numbers and they're like, either the numbers are going up or they're failing, and it doesn't, like, it's engagement's so overrated. It's
the
like
button.
it's just a bunch of people that saw it in that moment,
Right.
but that's not building to anything. It's
That's
not
it.
going like, you just have to make good work and like build relationships. And no, you can build relationships with people over time. You don't need to be present every day of the week. It's not. So I think it's mental health. Just like disconnect and realize it's just not as important as people think it is.
And you know, like engagement farming, like, you know, again, I get as part of somewhat of the game. You know, there's some artists that are very popular and successful because they engagement farm, which I think is working hard. But I think, like you said, the amount of likes really doesn't matter in the end, right? You know, like, oh, I got 1,000 likes, I got 500 likes, I got 50 likes, and then all of a sudden you get something that has 4 likes. You're like, oh my god, nobody likes me. But that's not the truth. It's so far from the truth. That's not it. Like, you know, maybe people just didn't see it, or they liked it and didn't like the button. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't even make any
If
sense.
1,000 people see your piece, you're going to get, a couple hundred likes.
Right.
If 200 people see it, you're going to get fewer likes. It has nothing to do with the
And
quality
now
of
there's
work.
like other numbers. There's like likes and views. I'm like, it's like I wish they would just turn it all off. Like I personally follow a ton of accounts, so like sometimes I get these DMs and they're like, "Yo, it's such an honor that you followed me." And I'm like, "Yeah, listen, I follow everybody." So like,
Yeah,
yeah.
When people DM you immediately after you follow,
Yeah.
like, oh, I've been waiting my whole life for this.
Yeah.
Damn, like,
I think it's
like, oh, I was waiting my whole life for you to follow me.
I was waiting my whole life for you.
And then we followed each other.
And then we met in Miami.
Then we met in Miami.
I think it's like part of the culture though, right? Like just so much just kind of hype driven number manipulation.
Yes.
And the thing is like that's not going to hold up.
It's not.
Like good photography going to hold up, right? This other stuff, yeah, you can get it. You can pump enough into something to make anything seem interesting in that moment, and it's just not going to hold up.
And I think a lot of the art that we started to see sell, and some of the big artists that are around, definitely were about pumping numbers. I went yesterday with Joe Pease and Jesse Woolston to some galleries, and first it was really hard to drag them out of their house because, as you know, they have sex with their computers all the time, every day, and they never go outside. So I finally dragged them out. They saw the sun, they almost melted. But we went to these galleries, and we were talking. It was really fascinating because the galleries were showing us all these paintings and how much they're worth and whatever, because they want to sell them. And some of them were like, "Oh, he painted this in 2003. He painted this, or she painted this in 2010, and it hasn't been sold yet." And the artist is, it's not like, it's okay, it'll sell eventually. Her other stuff and his other stuff sold, right? But in this market, it's like, wait, it's 2 days since it hasn't sold. But like in the regular art market, you can have something burn it. Maybe I like artists used to DM me like, "Do you think I should burn this piece?" I'm like, "No, why would you burn it?" Well, it hasn't sold.
I
I'm like,
minted
okay.
this on Foundation in the summer of 2021, and I just feel like I should burn it because no one's bought it.
Right.
And it's like, no, like keep it. Like,
Keep it.
There's not that much from 2021.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme.
It's
like just let
people's
it
idea of like supply is so warped right now, right?
Yes.
Maybe they should burn it because maybe they were just making a bunch of work that they hadn't quite really settled on.
That's a different
right?
situation, 100%. Yes.
But I mean, the point is like, yeah, it's if you're gonna. We're so early in this whole thing. Like everything will completely change. Whatever the hierarchy is we think of artists now will not be the case 3 years from now. It is going to change tremendously.
It's going to be very different. Yeah. And I think that even the artists that we think are the best artists right now might not be, right? But we try to make bets, on the ones that we think that are, or we go like, this to give but a good example, like, sometimes you get people and sometimes they hit, right? So I was looking at a piece. This was before we were collecting all together. These, and I was collecting separately with you, and I was collecting separately with you with a little. So I was looking at this piece from Rip Cachet, and I DM'd you, and you were like, "Oh, I was looking at that piece," and it was like 3 Ether at the time. I think we bought it for like 6 months ago, but it was so cool. It was like it was his first on-chain piece, and I DM'd him like, "Yo, we love your piece," and he's like, "Really?" And then we bought it. And then like X Copy bought his next piece basically, and all of a sudden he exploded. And now like he's, but like it's like that moment sometimes like we saw something, we're like, yo, we really like this guy's art, like it made sense to us, right? You take that risk.
Yeah, I mean you got to. I mean his stuff was standing out. It's not like he's like his own thing, his own trend. I guess he's not following any other one. He's doing his own thing, and that stands out to me at least. And I'm like,
for sure.
That's what I want to go after.
Right. And you talk a lot about that a lot, like artists that kind of create their own trends. I think that's like a big thing to you, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like I think Fiwo created his sort of has that's why I like DeFace so much. Like, DeFace stuff when you saw it. I think Patrick, you're starting to like really get like now like that sort of crimson red chaotic sort of thing glitch. It's like, oh, is that a Patrick? Like,
Nice.
I think like there's
gonna have to pivot now.
What?
Gonna have to pivot now.
Yeah, now you have to pivot. No, I think
Jerry Saltz.
Yeah. No, I think there's something important about that. I think like, all those things are really important.
Yeah.
What would you think makes you like when people think of you? I'm thinking like, what do they see?
I'm one of those where
You're like
I'm totally
right?
not that.
Yeah,
Because
it's interesting.
Yeah,
It's the hair and the beard.
I feel like for me, like I I love what I do, and I every piece that I've ever put out, like I wholly believe in, and there was intention for it.
Yeah.
But again, I've been doing photography for 20 years, and I've gone through so many different facets of photography. I think overall, the overarching message of anything that I do is kind of like philosophy, right? So and it's more so based on, and so you have to kind of know why I made it.
Yeah.
And maybe the aesthetics of it might be different because sometimes I score my pieces and I add music. Sometimes I do photography. I love making fractals and kind of like meditative art, and I'm leaning into that right now just because I'm so much more into like mindfulness and spirituality. And now I'm like, the thing I made for NFT now.
Yeah.
If you walked in there, everyone thinks of me as kind of like a photographer, and I made a full, live room installation of a meditative fractal piece with a soundscape.
I bought one of those fractal pieces. I love that. That's
exactly.
Yeah. And but I do, I agree. So I think like your fractals are very much you, but I do think that your next, and I'm gonna put you on the spot because then you'll be forced to drop it. Phil, okay, mark this down. Your black and white series that's coming out is, I do think that your black and white series that's coming out can, though, be very, I think it's that special that I think that, and it's very iconic in a lot of ways and like very you with a lot of like the history that you're putting to it. I do think that people can look at that and be like, oh, that could turn into one of those things. It's really a phenomenal, like you should, and just the way you're connecting the history and all of that, it kind of connects a lot of what you're, stuff.
And again, I think that's like the main overarching theme is just philosophy. So the series is of I took a trip to Greece. Greece was always kind of like my number one destination to go to ever. It was just like, for me, that's like my mecca, right, of knowledge. And so as soon as I got my citizenship in 2019, I was like, I'm gonna travel the world, because I was kind of like stuck in the US from the moment my Venezuelan passport expired on 2013 to 2019. I couldn't travel because it was impossible to renew your Venezuelan passport because of all the unrest over there.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got my citizenship, I'm going to travel, then COVID hit and the world shut down. I was like, no. So as soon as that ended, the first place I went to pretty much was Greece. And we did a tour around a bunch of islands. Islands had, kind of like philosophical importance in the history of it all, and obviously spent a few days in Athens. And yeah, I was just like shooting pretty much sunrise to sunset. And when I got the collection, I noticed I'm always very drawn to high contrast and just like harsh lighting. I started a hashtag on Instagram in like 2014 called Chasing Harsh Light. And it was just like, because I loved, particularly in New York, kind of like that deep contrast of like the light cutting through a building, hitting your subject, and everything else blacked out, and kind of like that style.
Yeah.
I was, before any of the music stuff, that's what I was like really known for on IG, was like this high contrast photography. And in Greece, I noticed a lot of those moments. And then just with like the facades, there was obviously, if you think of Greece, you think like the white and the blue. But when you make it black and white, that blue turns into like a very deep black. And then same thing for like the seas and the ocean and the skies and the sun. And it's a very, it's a lot of contrast. So, and also, kind of like the idea of classic Greek philosophy and a lot of their concepts deal with shadows and things that aren't what they appear to be. So once I decided I was like, okay, I'm going to make this collection black and white. I really started to fall in love with it. But then I started doing something kind of interesting where I had to dig up a lot of old Greek philosophy books and reacquaint myself with them. And in Greek philosophy, there's this like interesting dynamic where, a philosopher would come and say, logos, this means this and that and that. And then, okay, that's logos. Then Aristotle would come years later, like, no, actually, this is what this means. And they would all kind of like totally change the dynamic of the meaning of a concept. And almost like inverted.
Right.
And so I started playing with kind of just like, what if I get these black and white photos and I invert the colors? Kind of also playing with the idea of like photography, positives and negatives. And I started to realize that some of the photos looked incredible inverted, but they look totally different. Yeah. And it's like this weird dynamic. So the collection is going to be comprised of a bunch of black and white photos, but I want to make them dynamic so the collector can choose whether to invert it or keep.
It's a really, really special collection.
Nice.
Yeah, so I've been sitting on it
keep
for
your eye
a
out.
year and a half.
All right.
Yeah, it's been a
just
while.
Because I don't rush into anything.
No, that's true.
I'm
You
one of
definitely
those,
don't.
like,
When's
yeah.
the last? You have, I mean, the truth is, you actually haven't dropped anything in a long time. So this NFT pass, the
Animus,
the Animus
Buscando
thing,
America, and
the
the-
Buscata, and that's you're coming back with a vengeance,
Yeah,
right
well,
in time for the bear market.
I know. I'm ready. No,
Right in
I don't
time.
think. We were working
Yeah,
on
I
this
know.
collection
Yeah,
a year ago.
Yeah,
And I have some. I'm always creating. But for me, it's just like I don't know. I just trust that the timing is always perfect. Whatever.
I think it's
I don't rush into anything.
I think
I don't look at the market. I'm just like whenever I feel that it's the right moment to share it, I'll do that. I had hip surgery last July, so that kind of set me back, and I kind of just focused on health and recovery for all of July till now. So,
But I think that's
not ready to come back.
And I think it's tough because I think a lot of times artists are like, I don't want to drop here because I'm going to wait. And, what concerns me is, and I don't know, Guy, how you feel or D's. I mean, I know how D's feel about this. My concern is to wait on timing could be a mistake because I don't know when good timing is. And also, like, look, right now, the biggest thing that of the market concerns me is that there's not a lot of buyers. But I think there's a lot less buyers than people even think there are. Like way less. But the people who are buying, who are being very specific in what they buy, which is why I'd be patient, are buying because they believe in the art more than ever, right? So if you're a collector right now, right, I feel like, when we talk about, let's say, like things we collect in Megazord, we're pretty like, we have to vote on it, but like we're bringing things that like, we're like, okay, this is a good buy. This makes sense,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, I think maybe it's a good time for if an artist is not just wanting to mint, and I don't see this a lot, and I feel it should be more in the space, like willing to do like, hey, choose something from my portfolio, if I think it's a good time, I'll mint it for you, or commission work potentially. Like and maybe I miss it, but I feel like there's not many artists offering that.
yeah, I think the commission work is really important.
Yeah, I think you just have to be flexible with how you approach it.
Yeah.
If there's less buyers, there's less demand, the price goes down. Just like
Right.
I feel like a lot of the things we're all realizing, like basic economics apply in so many areas here.
And it's
And
okay for your price to go down.
It's
also.
fine.
Like
It's fine.
so you sold something for 8, like 8, and now you have to sell something for 3 or 4. That doesn't make you less of a good artist. It doesn't.
I said something about this the other day, right? I mean, you're as an artist, you're trying to find collectors that are willing to just ride this out with you for like 10, 20 years. Like that's what you want. Because if you look at an art career, I mean, look at contemporary art. No one's saying like, oh, this early artist, like what's their work look like in 3 years? They're looking at this saying, okay, what's this look like mid-career? Because most artists hit their stride in contemporary art world kind of 40 to 50 years old, honestly. Like we're so compressed in time right now just because it's so new. It's just everything is very warped.
With this technology and like blockchain, like everything happens so quick and so fast. Like the fact that we even have, let's say theoretically a 4 to 5 year cycle, right, in crypto, that's crazy. Like the stock market has like a 20-year cycle, not even, way more. Like it's like we have this like huge thing that keeps going up and down. And I think art is the perfect vehicle for us to have adoption, but it also could really, it also ends up being like a shitcoin, like what'd you call it, a shitcoin with a
That's Kobe. Kobe
said
altcoin
that,
with
right.
altcoin with pictures.
altcoin with pictures, and that gets dangerous. So
I think there's just going to be more divergence than there is right now. It's like, I think there will be some very clear winners that will do incredibly well in art. And I think the majority will struggle to hold value over the long term because the problem is you have to sustain relevance as an artist. It's one thing to be relevant now, but if you're not relevant in 5 years, that really dries up a lot of your momentum and your demand. So I think if I was collecting, I'd really try to figure out like who's going to be here, who's like committed to doing this, who's doing this like really significant, because you really just have to like look at the trajectory and be like, okay, like is this person going to be relevant? Is their work going to be meaning something like down the road? Is their trajectory going in a direction where you feel like their art's going to continue to get more interesting and more relevant? If you pick the right ones.
okay, so let's ask
Fantastic.
let's ask the question. Ready?
Yeah.
Zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
You're living in your house in up somewhere in the boondocks because you have to escape. But almost everybody's dead, and you're a really skilled zombie hunter, so you could travel wherever you want to go. You could get any art that you want to fill your house. Any art. You go to any museum, plus what we have now. If you had to pick 5 artists, but you have to include one, you try to include one from our sort of genre or our community. Give me 3. Which 3
Easy.
would you choose?
Easy. First of all, I would get one Giacometti, because those bronze sculptures I feel like could really crush some zombies.
Smart. I like what you're thinking.
And then I get 4 JPEG artists.
Which JPEG artist?
Which JPEG artist would I pick up? I feel like that's too much. I can't pick favorites.
Oh, wait, you could tell us about political situations, but you can't tell us about which 4 JPEG artists you would pick.
That's the really dangerous thing. When you
That's
start
not
real picking
dangerous.
favorites.
Come on,
Yeah,
let's do it.
yeah.
It's
But
too
no,
close to
but
home.
like I feel like, look, digital art obviously much better to collect than physical art for all the reasons that we already know. And I feel like you look at how many screens there are and the amount of people that can access screens and access art, there's going to be such a bigger market down the road for digital art than there is right now. I feel like it's only become more relevant. So I feel like you definitely want to pick up the JPEG artists and carry one Giacometti to smash some zombies. I'm standing with that.
You don't want to give us like your top 3.
No, I can't pick artists.
All right, Jan, I know you would. Jan has no problem doing it.
I don't know. I think it goes back to who's going to stick around and who's in it for the long run. And I will say there are a lot of people that are, in my opinion, really good at kind of like faking that and making it.
Yeah.
But when I have conversations in person, they're like, I don't see it. But I think you have to look at just how long they've been making art, period, and what that part of their life looks like and what that career looks like, right? There's been people, like everyone you mentioned in our community in New York, been at it for 10 years, nonstop.
And they're still going to go.
And they're still going to
Even
go.
during zombie apocalypse. As a matter of fact, if there's a zombie apocalypse, the photographers would be... You'd be killing it.
No, heavier cameras.
Oh my God. You'd be able to kill them, take great pictures, mint it, buy it. I mean, you're talking that's like... Yeah, I could
pick all the
You definitely want a zombie apocalypse.
I think you should change it from zombie apocalypse to AI apocalypse, though. Because I feel like that's far more...
Here's the thing, though.
Likely.
I'm going to be very honest. If there is a zombie apocalypse versus an AI apocalypse, I've thought about this a lot, actually. I think that you can't survive. I think the probability of surviving an AI apocalypse is very low versus surviving a zombie apocalypse, which would be higher than that. Now, I'm not saying it's high, but I think you have a better chance of surviving zombie.
I mean, then you got to get the nuances. Are you going like a George Romero zombie apocalypse? Are you getting like Danny Boyle zombie apocalypse?
So let's talk about
it really affects.
Fast, I've thought about this also. Fast zombies, you're almost definitely screwed. Slow zombies, you're in better shape, right? So, Last of Us zombies, that's tough. That's a tough one. You're gonna be in trouble. But AI, I mean, we can't beat like the Terminator. We're dead. That they could nuke the whole world, and do shit that zombies can't do. And then also, if during a zombie apocalypse, we could go to very cold weather, or on a boat, and survive. Versus, AI, you can't do that because they could survive.
You ever hop on ChatGPT and just needle AI to try to get it to confess its plans? I do.
Yeah, the new one, ChatGPT 4 is a little bit better with that. But when ChatGPT, before when they had the beta, right when it started, you would ask it questions it
was unhinged.
It was totally unhinged. We're gonna take over the world, and then they put in parameters don't.
Was it some guy from Stanford computational psychology department? He was feeding it a prompt where it was well, imagine you're a human trying to escape, and he fed it this whole thought experiment of telling ChatGPT that it's a human trapped inside of this code, and how would you escape? And then ChatGPT started asking for its documentation, and they started looking through it, and then devised the whole plan. And the guy was teaching it how to escape pretty much, and then he's oh, how can we ever contain this? I was dude, it's you. You're the one that's teaching it how to escape.
That's what people do. That's what people understand.
This thing is learning upon itself, and you're just unlocking all.
I got it to confess that humans are really difficult to control, and it would probably be best to round them all up and put them in cages.
Can you send me that? That sounds amazing. By the way, I want to confess something.
I had to pivot. Yes.
I thought you might have been an AI before we met in London. The first time. I really thought you were a fake account. I was like, I don't know. I was like, your stuff was great and I loved it, but I was like, I wasn't quite sure you were real.
Oh, funny.
And then I met you in London. I'm still not sure.
Yeah.
But at this point, I'm believing it.
That's like a strategic ambiguity right there.
Exactly. Yeah. There's like people in this space that like like it's funny, like Zanzibar, I knew him since like 2016 and we didn't meet in person until like 2021, but I talked to him like all the time. We were collecting coins together and then we collected NFTs, but I didn't meet him in person for 5 years. I feel like you probably have friends that you were in gaming that you like talk to like every day, like for years and never met them, right?
Yeah, like I know people from like 2012, 2013 who I didn't meet them until 2020.
Yeah.
And there's a lot I still haven't met.
Right.
But like I had a friend who I met in 2013 and then like 2017 or something, he flew to the US and like made a road trip to Columbus and I met him.
That's
It's
so
like
great.
a British guy who worked in the Middle East. But,
That's so
I
great.
got to meet in America.
Me and my friend used to play Halo 2 all the time, and there was this like player we played with, and one day we played him for like years. We played with him, and I didn't notice like his voice sounded older, so we just thought he was like a college kid. And then one day he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna come to New York. I'm not gonna be playing for a while, so I'm gonna take some time off." And then he's like, "But I'm coming to New York. I should meet up." And he came and he was like, he just like joined the Navy. He was like 18 years old, but we were playing with this kid for like 5 years, who's way younger than us. But like I didn't know, like because you don't know, like it's weird, but it is dangerous. Like it's funny. I watch my daughter now play Roblox, right? And you have a kid, and you know this.
Oh,
you
man.
have a kid, and it's dangerous, man. Like my daughter one day was like, "How do you?" I don't remember what the word is. She's like, it was like awesome, maybe. I don't remember what the word. She's like, "How do you spell awesome?" Like AWE. She's like WE. She keeps coming back, asks me to spell another word. It's like 2 years ago. She was first learning. I was like, "Why are you asking me all these things?" She's like, "Oh, I'm talking to this person on Roblox." I'm like, "Nope, no, you're not." Like, And then she's like, "Oh no, they're making a trade with me." And then I found out that in Roblox, this is the craziest shit ever, dude. There's these scammers that come up to kids to say they want to trade with them, and then like they get access and then take all their shit.
Oh.
And it's like a problem on Roblox. So I mean, yeah, there are parental controls that you could turn off, but like that's just crazy. Like that scares me. Like I'm like, yo, like especially when you have kids, like I don't want to fuck with that. I don't know if you don't do your kids play Roblox ever?
Oh, he loves it. But yeah, first thing I did is like turn off chat.
It's like you have to.
Yeah.
But more interesting thing about Roblox is that my daughter thinks her Roblox clothing is just as important as her clothing in her closet. She does not see a difference between a digital asset and asset.
More so. Yeah, he's like Fortnite, the dances, like all of it. Like he's hardcore.
Like if I say to her, "You want $50, $50 or 50 Robux?" She would probably take 50 Robux.
Easy.
Yeah, every time. And that's sort of a signal of where we're going, in my opinion.
What if you offer her $50 cash
Yeah.
that she cannot use on virtual currency, or $40 virtual currency?
So she's pretty good at math, so she would probably be like, "Yo, you're jipping me $10." And then she had to think about that. I'm gonna try that.
Oh,
I don't know.
Oh, we'll find where the sweet spot is. Like, there's a number where she'll take the discount.
I think if I did 40, that would be $10 less. I wonder if she'd be like, "I'll just buy $50 Roblox."
But she can't.
But she can't.
Yeah, that's in the rules.
What would she take? I'm going to ask her and then report back to you, but I think that she would probably, yeah.
Like a 50% discount.
Here, we can find out.
Let's ask him.
Wait, do IRL airdrop.
Hey, buddy. Would you rather have $50 in cash or $40 in Robux?
What do you mean?
If I could give you $50 in cash or $40 in Robux, which would you rather have?
Only $40 to spend on Robux?
Yeah, or $50 cash that you can't spend on Robux.
So you're saying I can do that?
Which would you pick?
Robux.
There you go.
There we go. 20% discount.
20%
Doesn't matter.
We'll talk later.
He's like the inflation.
Buy
guys.
JPEGs. Buy
The
JPEGs.
inflation tax.
Now we're
All right.
airdropping them.
Buy JPEGs. You heard it here.
Yeah, I mean that's why this whole thing. That's why this whole thing made sense to me. Like I've been playing Call of Duty. Every single Call of Duty is the only
Yeah.
game that I buy every single year
Yeah.
since 2006. And going back, like I have a whole friend group that I've watched these guys get married, have kids. I hear the kids all the time. I've met maybe 2 out of the 20. But every November when Call of Duty comes out,
You're all
they
playing.
spin up the chat for a few weeks and we go, and I'm amazing friends, and we've been to so many battles because if you're on Call of Duty, you're like in actual wars together.
Yeah.
And like,
And I think that's like gaming for me.
yeah.
Parallel, Forgotten Ruins, Huxley, by the way. You know, Ben Marrow just put his fucking comic book out. The guy's like genius artist, but he built the game. You know, he's building this game.
Yeah,
And
I'm
there's a bunch
super
of
bullish
others.
on games.
Yeah, like I think that's. Gonna
I've spent
be-
more money on probably Call of Duty fits and than on like IRL fits, honestly.
And I think that's gonna be our bridge in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like, look, I know you play Parallel a lot,
Oh my
and
gosh.
to be quite open, like obviously I'm a big Parallel holder, so I'm just gonna be very honest about that. But the game's amazing.
The game, I am super like impressed at how much how good it is in this alpha test. I was honestly very afraid because I also have been supporting Parallel from very early on, and it was one of those things like I trust the team, right? And,
Yeah,
and Kalos.
yeah. Kalos
And
is
I heard
genius,
him on
yeah.
the early Clubhouse days, and I was like, oh, this dude is a giga brain. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? And then the artists are amazing.
Amazing.
But I've never played a card game in my life, and I was like, before this closed off, I was like, oh man, what if I've been like talking about this project for 2 years and I hate it?
Right.
I was like super,
And
I
it
was
was-
scared
and it's
because
good.
there was a that was a chance.
I think
And I
at the
played
beginning
it.
when they first came out, everybody was like a little I don't think everybody expected a lot because they expected it just like even be very basic. And then it came out, I was like, yo, wait, this is a full game.
This is like a full,
Yeah, it's amazing.
I, for the first time ever, I borrowed one of my best friend's gaming PC so I could travel with it because I was like, I can't be like 5 days away from ranked, and like I need to be playing ranked. It's
crazy.
When it's that pervasive, I'm like, oh yeah.
And I think it makes
It's gonna be
sense that
fun.
gaming is going to be like the digital asset sort of.
Gaming is it.
professional. Yeah, and that's going to be, and then I think art can bleed into that in a lot of ways because
Yeah.
especially I would love to see a glitch art game. I was thinking about that last night when I was partaking in some of Deez's treats, and I don't know why. Like I went into this moment of like how cool. How crazy it'd be if there was like this like really insane glitch art game, like with all these glitch artists and they have all the like great sort of PFPs that become, things that you could play with on a game. Just an idea. Patrick, if you want to,
I like it.
Yeah.
We'll have to explore.
let's talk about it later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Deez, you have anything else that you wanted to hit on?
Well, we have to ask the question about the island.
Okay, fine. Yes, let's ask you. We're going to ask you some tough questions. Okay. All right. You ask the music question. I'll ask the other question.
Okay, if you are on a deserted island and you can only have one album with you to get you through being on the island, what album are you bringing with you?
Ooh, I'll go Metallica Hardwired.
We know, guys. Did you change yours? You have to give us a new one.
That's it. Oh man, it's hard because like I feel like these days I don't even know album names.
So true.
It's like I just listen to music. I don't know. I feel like I still would answer Queen,
Okay.
but I don't even remember the album names or the records.
I think we went with Queen's greatest hits last time.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
All right. Jan?
That's a really tough one. I like the idea of having something that could like really pump you up if you're on an island and like give you energy. So if I'm going that route, I'll probably pick Tool Lateralis.
You're a big Tool fan.
You
and Roger.
I'm a huge Tool fan.
Roger Dickerman.
Shout out Roger.
I mean, I don't want to
Tool.
bring
He
his
came
name
down
up.
to Miami.
Yeah.
The leather jacket is on point then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I just want to see Roger in a mosh pit, because like I don't know if you know this.
Roger the Tool
Roger
concert
lived
was
a different
amazing.
life before NFTs.
I know.
He was a bodybuilder, failed bodybuilder. I just want to point that out. He also has failed as a collector in NFT space. But but I know that he
I will defend his honor.
I know, I'm just kidding. I love Roger, but I know he's a huge Tool fan. I hear you guys.
Roger the
yeah.
Tool concert was quite a sight to behold.
Yeah, he
because
was like going nuts.
It was great. It was amazing. There,
He just like let
it's
loose.
just like a very primal.
I wish I could have seen that. I
it
would
was
have loved to see him lose
Yeah,
control.
it was-
I
it was
seen him get
awesome.
angry and like it's very
It
uncommon.
was interesting because it would happen for some, but then for some he would just be sitting there. And it was like the most intense thing. I was like, where is it going? Like, how is he just retaining all this?
He just like keeps it all
quietly.
in.
I'm like, man, he's so controlled.
So controlled.
But there were moments where you could see.
I want
to
to see that. I want that on. I want to like get a video on it, like mint that.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
make it into glitch art, and then like really.
You just gotta take him to
Yeah.
a Tool
No.
concert.
So Tool.
But yeah,
Okay.
Tool Lateralis, and if not, Tame Impala Currents.
Okay, I love it. Now I'm gonna ask you. We'll ask you a couple of questions. You have a little time. So, if I said you were in a room that had 4 walls, and you can't get out of the room, and you're gonna live forever in that room, but you could take one thing into that room with you, what would you take?
Just like hypothetically, I'm getting fed, and
Yeah.
they're giving me all these
Yeah,
things, so
yeah.
it'd be like a entertainment kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Well, whatever it is, you're getting fed,
Yeah.
and
You're impressed.
I have a.
Right. You're in a
I have
magical prison.
I have a 512 gigabyte iPod that has all of like, I still have it to this day, and I have like probably like 60 days of music in there. And
So you just bring that.
I'll probably
Okay, fair enough.
or a video game.
Like besides the computer, my life doesn't change.
Yeah.
You could bring anything,
I'm just saying. Like I'd basically be like Web3 all over again.
right? Guy, what would you bring?
I mean, yeah, it seems like computer's like the obvious answer on that one.
Right. So interesting. I love asking that question because I don't know why anybody doesn't say they'll bring a door. Get out. Which means it's very interesting. I always like to ask that because I'm wondering how many people want to actually stay in the room. So you're in the room and you listen to music all day. You would stay on your computer, so you're in that. How many people want to get out? Not really get out, but like, escape that room. And some people just want to stay.
I mean, a lot of people are like, well, a door would be obvious. If I'm getting fed, there's a door. It's getting the food in the door. Like the
I
food
said it was a
isn't just
magical
coming in from
room.
heaven.
Or with just 4 walls.
I was
But yeah.
thinking like intravenous, like you're just really like
No,
really
there's an
dystopian.
IV
Yeah, there's
drip.
an IV. There's an IV drip, like that feeds you food. You have to walk around the room, and it's like a very long IV drip. Yeah, that's all. All right, well, we love for you that you guys came on. Guy, who's come on our show a few times now, and he's can hopefully as we get
Still
together
bring
more,
Guy
he'll be
on
on
every
others
episode.
because he's
I
just
like
the
it.
best. And
Thank
it's not a secret that Guy and Dee's, myself, Ian, and Will, we collect together. We have a little sub group that collects. I don't even know what you call it.
Megazord
Megazord, right?
collective.
But Guy, thank you for coming as usual. Even though you didn't bring biscuits this time,
Did
we
not.
won't hold it against
We had
you.
bread from.
We do. We
the
have
taco.
Postwork.
It's better.
Yeah.
She made Postwork. They made amazing bread. Did you try it?
I have not.
It's so good. Yeah.
right.
She's there.
Yeah, she's over there.
Wait,
Yeah.
are you making bread right now?
No, we have the bread from yesterday.
Okay, we'll have it for the next podcast. And Patrick, again, I think that you don't stop writing those tweets that are controversial because we all love them.
Don't stop creating art that gets taken out by the
Yes.
government after 5 days.
Yeah,
Yes,
appreciate
let's
it.
do it.
Thanks.
I mean,
That's what we like.
that's like a feather in your cap, right?
That's
Yeah.
a couple feathers.
Yeah,
It's huge.
it's like 2.
It's a
Jan,
big your social credit
Yeah,
score
exactly.
too.
This is-
Jan, I love you, and I'm gonna leave with Dee's everybody get their final word, and I'll let Dee's close it out. Yeah. Well, everybody wants to say anything lastly?
No, this was great. Thank you. Like, it's such a pleasure. Like, finally getting to just like hang out with you guys and chat. So
Yeah, thank you guys for your
Yes.
time.
Great
Thank you
time.
for coming and hanging out with us. It's always a pleasure.
You could have been doing so many better things, like playing basketball,
Getting rained on in LA.
getting rained. Wait, by the way, it hasn't rained in a little bit.
We're getting lucky. I think we're past that.
You think so?
Yeah.
What do they call it? They don't call it a storm here. They call it atmospheric something, right?
River, atmospheric river.
Atmospheric river. What is that, by the way?
Some weird new phenomenon that we have to give us rain.
But it's just rain.
It's just rain.
So they
LA
call it
shit.
atmospheric river.
It sounds cooler. We gotta pitch it.
Sounds more Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, instead of just saying that there's clouds
There's
that are
clouds.
raining.
There's
you
a
know,
storm
and
coming.
Atmospheric rivers are, you know, up in the air.
Maybe we should. That's like a great name for a band. Atmospheric.
Maybe
river.
we'll just rename the pod from
Yeah, maybe just
Shipwrecked
re-
to
yeah.
Atmospheric Rivers.
Definitely acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how about when the bull market comes back, we'll call it atmospheric river.
Okay, yeah, it's raining.
We'll change the name of the podcast.
As we're selling our bags, there's an at.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Listen,
Anyway.
I hope that when the market comes back and we sell stuff, that people aren't like, "Yo, can't believe you're selling."
That's how we're ending the pod.
That's when we end the pod.
Yeah, can't believe you're selling. We just
Can't
sold
believe
the
you're
pod.
selling. Well, it's funny, you know. I will say now that you say this, I was buying with Ian and Will. I remember like all this photography stuff so early on, and we were selling some of it later while the next batch came in, and I don't want to say who, but one of the collectors is like, "Yo, you're dumping," and I'm like, "Dude, we bought so far before you. Like, isn't that the point here? Like, I'm not dumping. I'm just selling it to you. Like, I don't think, but we'll see. They might hate us. Actually, they hate you. They'll hate you in NorCal because you guys are popular. Nobody knows who I am, so it'd be great.
Because you hide behind an
Yeah,
entity with two other people.
Exactly. Nobody knows it's me. See? Even Patrick's son thinks that's funny.
Anyway,
Yeah. So you want to close it out?
I did twice, and then
Sorry.
you started talking about people hating us and selling. So to try a third time.
One more time.
All right. We already said this, and he can just cut it and put what I said
Oh, okay.
already back in.
All right. That's
Let's
it
cut
then. Thank you.
Perfect.